Has learned one of the weapons APD thought would bring James Boyd down alive never should have been used in the first place and may have played a role in his death. Taser International had discontinued the weapon 2 years earlier and issued a warning that said using expired ammo could cause serious problems. News 13 has learned both Keith Sandy and Officer Rick Ingram brought expired ammo to the scene. Whether the gun malfunctioned or not, officers agreed the taser did not do what it was intended to do when Ingram fired twice at Boyd. An attorney for the Boyd family says it's one example of a series of things that went wrong that day. APD would not answer questions for this story. A spokesperson for Taser International did not get back to us either. And that news comes as people in the community gather to remember Boyd 1 year after the deadly shooting. Yesterday, a group of about 30 people gathered in the foothills at the place James Boyd was killed back in March 16, 2014. There was a tent set up, flowers there to remember Boyd. People who attended said they wanted to bring attention to homelessness and mental health issues in Albuquerque. The vigil even attracted national networks, including CBS. This morning, the family of the man killed in a fiery crash off of I-40 wants answers, saying they think the car he was driving is to blame. Daniel Baca was killed when his car erupted into flames earlier this month after it crashed on the I-40 Carlisle off-ramp. His family is now working with a private investigator. They think the gas pedal in Daniel's 2005 Lexus ES may have gotten stuck. The vehicle is made by Toyota, which has had well-publicized problems with sticky accelerators. Police say the car was too mutilated and charred to figure out what exactly caused that crash.
Something had to have been wrong with that vehicle for him to be driving at the high rates of speed that he was. Daniel never had a speeding ticket in his life.
Now, police say Baca's car was not under a specific recall. The Baca family says about 15 minutes before the crash, Daniel was on the phone with a family member, but there was no indication of any problems there. A couple is dead after they struck a horse while riding their motorcycle. It happened on Bonanza Creek Road just south of Santa Fe Sunday night. Santa Fe County Sheriff's deputies say the victims have been identified as 65-year-old Stephen Mudge and his 56-year-old wife Nancy. Officers say both were wearing helmets. The horse was checked over by the vet. Its owner treated it at the scene. 2 bars and 2 convenience stores in Albuquerque are in trouble for giving too much alcohol to people who were later involved in deadly drunk driving crashes. New Mexico's Alcohol and Gaming Division has fined Ojos Locos Sports Cantina, and that was on Louisiana and I-40, $12,000, and suspended its liquor license for 8 days for giving a customer too much to drink. He was twice the legal limit when he crashed and later died. 203 Topless Country in Moriarty, Stripes Convenience Store in Hobbs, and a Circle K in Tucumcari were also fined and had their licenses suspended. Here's something that you'll be happy to hear this morning. Driving instead of flying may be the way to go for that summer vacation, because guess what? The prices at the pump could drop again. News 13's Catherine Mazzone has more on what experts are saying. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. You're absolutely right. Gas dipped below $2 this winter. It left many with more money in their wallets. And this summer, AAA predicts those prices could dip to the $2 mark yet again. That's nationwide. It's all thanks to an abundance of crude oil on the market, driving down the price of gas. So what does that mean for drivers? AAA estimates that cheaper gas translates into big savings to the tune of more than $700 for the average household. Here in New Mexico, drivers say every little bit helps.
I drive about 20 miles. I live in Corrales, and I work in Uptown. So, yeah, I mean, $2 a gallon is great.
I think it would definitely help out everybody.
Now, I checked around the Duke City and found a couple of places that are well on their way to hitting $2. The 7-Eleven at Candelaria and Carlisle, the Murphy Express just about a block from there, and the Allsups near 12th and Manal are all at $2.06. Back to you, Crystal.
All right, thanks, Catherine. Right now, we're paying on average about $2.25 a gallon. That's more than $1 cheaper than last year's average, according to GasBuddy.com. Now, the average price of gas in Albuquerque, the Albuquerque area rather, is $2.19 a gallon. But it gets higher when you go north. It's $2.25 in Santa Fe and $2.35 in Farmington. State lawmakers give a multi-billion-dollar spending bill the green light for the next fiscal year. Last night, New Mexico senators took up the bill approving a $6.2 billion spending plan. The plan includes raises for new teachers and state police officers. It also calls for $37 million in initiatives for education. This morning, it's official. The troubled CYFD now has a new leader. The state Senate approved Monique Jacobson as a secretary of the Children, Youth and Families Department. Jacobson was nominated by Governor Susana Martinez. She was approved with a 35-2 vote yesterday. There's been concern over the move to make Jacobson the new CYFD head because she was originally in charge of the state tourism department. Jacobson told senators at the committee hearing that she was ready to take on the job. The Albuquerque City Council has approved a measure they hope will help find out why the police department has shrunk. The resolution, which was approved last night, calls for a survey of more than 50 APD officers who retired last year and officers who plan to retire. The survey will look into why the officers left the department so the city can figure out how to keep current officers on the force. The survey is expected to cost $5,000 and results are expected to come out in May. The police department has shrunk more than 20% just in the last 5 years alone. When we come back, James Boyd, a year after he was shot and killed by police, News 13 has learned one of the weapons used on scene had been discontinued, but it doesn't end there. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is in the Newsplex with the details. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Not only had the weapon been discontinued, but one of Boyd's shooters brought along ammunition that shouldn't have even been used. News 13 learned Taser International had discontinued that weapon 2 years earlier. Plus, they released a warning that using expired ammo could cause serious problems with that weapon. Both Keith Sandy and Officer Rick Ingram brought expired ammo to the scene. When Ingram fired twice at Boyd, officers agree the taser didn't operate the way it was supposed to. Whether it malfunctioned or not, an attorney for the Boyd family says it's one example of a series of things that went wrong.
They used this weapon that was unsafe, and then ultimately they killed him in a moment when he was turning to surrender. This was just one in a series of many, many reckless acts that day.
Now, APD didn't get back to us about the story. We contacted a spokesperson for Taser International, but didn't hear back from them either. Back to you, Crystal.
All right, thanks for the information, Catherine. Now, according to one published study and multiple law enforcement sources, there were questions about the Taser shotgun's reliability before it was discontinued. For more information about the Taser shotgun factored into the Boyd shooting, you can visit our website, KRQE.com. This morning, some Little League parents are worried about a coach who was once accused of rape. In 2011, Raymond Trujillo, who was then 18, was accused of holding a 17-year-old girl at knife point and forcing her to perform sexual acts. Parents wanted to know how he got his coaching job.
Enough to cause any parent concern. We should have the right to see everything that they've done and make our choice.
Now, the Valencia County DA tells us the victim in Trujillo's case did not want to testify in court, saying she had been through enough. The rape charge was dismissed, but Trujillo has been serving a 5-year probation for aggravated battery charges in the case. Trujillo did not want to go on camera, but told us he was falsely accused. Belen Little League told us Trujillo did pass a background check. His probation only indicates that he does not have contact with the alleged victim. New Mexico Democrats are turning up the heat on the governor, calling on her to give back campaign donations tied to a developer convicted of assaulting a woman. The Dems say Marcus Hiles, a luxury home developer and big-time Republican donor in the Dallas area, gave Martinez and her political action committees more than $100,000. It surfaced last month that Hiles was convicted 2 years ago of beating up a stripper in Las Vegas. Since then, prominent Republicans have been giving Hiles' donations to charity. We called the governor's office to ask if she would be returning the money or donating it to charity, but never heard back. This morning, the teen police say sparked 2 fires to cover up even more crimes is charged while police look for his accomplice. 19-year-old Stephen Baker was arrested in Clovis on Sunday. Police say he broke into Maverick Sports and Tackle gun store, then took more than 20 guns. When investigating that break-in, they were able to link Baker to February's break-in at Gibo's Farm and Ranch Supply Store. Hours before the Gables break-in, there were 2 fires set at the Clovis Livestock Auction and Johnson Lumber Company. Police believe Baker set those fires to deter officers while he broke into Gables. When searching Baker's home, they found the guns stolen from Mavericks. Police are looking for an accomplice in the case. If you have any information, you're asked to call them. Today, help is finally arriving for the ravaged South Pacific Islands after a massive cyclone struck over the weekend. The United Nations says at least 11 people are dead. This comes after previous reports that 24 were dead. Teams of aid workers and government officials carrying supplies managed to land in areas hit the hardest this morning. Reports are more than 90% of homes and other buildings on one of the islands were either damaged or destroyed.
Who else is in there? Anybody?
Nobody that I know of.
Take a look at this. Body cameras show deputies in Florida going above and beyond the call of duty. Deputies in the town of Holiday arrived on the scene of a house fire where a woman told them her mother was still trapped inside. They opened the front door. They saw heavy smoke coming from the house, so one deputy got on his hands and knees to try and go inside. But it was just too much. They managed to break a window, though, and get the woman out. No one was hurt in the fire, luckily. It's not known what caused the blaze just yet. And fire devours thousands of acres in an Oklahoma countryside. Take a look at this video. Flames were so fierce, you can see a fire tornado shoot up in the far distance. The blaze broke out last night and was battled by at least 35 fire departments. They managed to contain the fire. The cause is still under investigation. Developing news now, a notorious real estate heir who appeared to admit to murder in an HBO documentary is now being held without bail this morning in New Orleans. He's now awaiting extradition to Los Angeles, where he faces first-degree murder charges of the killing of his friend Susan Berman. Back in 2001, Robert Durst was also tried and acquitted in the murder of a neighbor and has since been a longtime suspect by police in the 1982 disappearance of his wife. Experts now say that a recording of Durst saying killed them all, of course, end quote, in a recent documentary could play a role in his upcoming trial. An attorney for the man accused of shooting 2 officers in Ferguson, Missouri, says officers roughed him up first. Gerald Christmas, who is the attorney for Jeffrey Williams, says Williams has bruises on his back, shoulder, and face. He says Williams also had a knot on his head. A spokesman for the St. Louis County Police Department, says the allegations are, quote, completely false. Williams is accused of shooting the officers during a protest last week. He says he was not targeting the officers. Dozens of New Mexicans